Throughout history, many married couples have taken to instruments and made music together. This unique dynamic has produced such impressive acts as Fleetwood Mac, Jay-Z and Beyoncé, and Tom Tom Club. Folk rock duo Steve and Kim Wolf exemplify how collaborating with a spouse can produce extraordinary music. Their eclectic sound encompasses aspects of rock, country, folk, and bluegrass. I caught up with Steve and Kim over the phone. We discussed their influences, style, and sound. I'm Willard Hike, and this is a live feed on KQAL.
This is the live feed. It's your connection to live music and entertainment in Winona. Support for this program is made possible by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund.
I'm here over the phone with Steve and Kim Wolf, some musicians from the Twin Cities area. How are you doing today?
Fantastic. Doing great.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us over the phone. So to start, I'll ask could you please just give a general overview of your music? What's your sound? What kind of genres do you play?
We're kind of eclectic. I would say our go-to is kind of country, but we've got pop in our background. We've got folk in our background. We're kind of all over the board. Little jazz, little bluegrass. We like a lot of different varieties of music.
Sure. So I understand you have a project out that came out fairly recently, Where I'm From. Is that right?
Right. So that's a song that Kim and I wrote basically about living in Minnesota. So that's the title CD or title song from the most recent CD that we've put out.
So tell me a little bit. Does this new CD, does that differ maybe in style or narrative or sound? Did you take a different approach to Where I'm From? As opposed, relative to other projects? Really,
it's kind of it's mainly to catch people up with kind of the music we've been writing and recording over the last couple of years. So it wasn't something where we sat down to write, a complete album. It really is more of a collection of the songs that we've been working on. We work kind of constantly on writing and recording, and so we're lucky to have a home studio here. So instead of having to go in and try to, record all the tracks on a CD all one time, they really happen much more organically as we are just living our daily life.
Yeah, sure. That's an interesting approach. Well, how about this? Let's go ahead and hear the title track from that project. Here's Where I'm From on KQAL by Steve and Kim Wolf.
Keep you from the cold. The walls can sometimes close in when the long gray days take hold. Where I'm from, we all dress like Paul Bunyan's wayward kin. The sleep gets in your color, the chill goes through your skin. Where I'm from, farmers' dreams lie frozen under snow, and only spring can unlock the promise down below. For every day of welcome sun, we get our share of gray. Where I'm from, it's always been that way. Where I'm from has made me who I am. Where I'm from has made me who I am. Mississippi mud runs deep in my blood. Northern lights in my eyes. Where I'm from has made me who I am. Where I'm from is where I make my stand. Where I'm from, things move slow, change comes by degrees. We've learned to wait 6 months for the first sweet April breeze. But a northern boy's smile can light up the darkest day. It's where I'm from and where I think I'll stay. Where I'm from has made me who I am. Where I'm from has made me who I am. Mississippi mud
right, we're back. That was Where I'm From by Stephen Kim Wolf here on 895 KQAL. So tell me a little bit about, but before the music started, you were saying a little bit about kind of the whole project's nature. Where I'm From, what is, tell me a little bit about what that song's about.
Where I'm From is all about what it takes to make a person. So, you know, we look at all those things that are very Minnesotan, if I can put it that way. You've got, you know, the Mississippi River. You've got all these areas of Minnesota that we love. Up north, in the Bemidji area is very near and dear to our heart. All of the things associated with the river, the farmlands. My parents are farmers in southern Minnesota, so it's all those things that kind of speak to us and bring us home.
They started the song in a traffic jam on the first snowfall of November. And it was, you know, in Minnesota, it always takes a snowfall or two for us to kind of remember how to drive and stuff. And I was actually feeling quite frustrated, and it's like, you know, why do I live here kind of thing. And it was really, and then the lyrics started to kind of flow, and over the course of that, the whole theme of the chorus, which is, you know, where I'm from has made me who I am. That's, you know, so there's a lot of sort of contradictory things right now. We're experiencing a spring with snowfall in April, you know, so it's one of those things that I tried to capture in the song, some of the things that make us uniquely Minnesotan.
Yeah, for sure. It's really cool that it's sort of a tribute to you know, the uniqueness and you know, just what makes Minnesota. And each of your individual respective backgrounds, how'd you get started with music?
Growing up on the farm, music was always just part of life. You always had the big stereo LP, you know, piece of furniture playing LPs whenever you were working on something, making dinner or whatever the case might be. You always had a radio out in the tractor kind of thing. So music was always just there. It's something my family enjoys and loves, although not everybody in my family can play an instrument, but it's always just been there.
Yeah, for me, I loved music as a kid. My folks had a record collection, and I would spend hours, you know, sitting next to the old big console stereo and listening to, you know, Peter, Paul, and Mary, a lot of folk, a lot of actually Broadway music, and, you know, kind of a really wide variety. But I didn't actually touch an instrument until a freshman in high school. I went away to a high school in Chicago, and all of a sudden, you know, had access to some instruments they had in the music department there, and just really, you know, took to it and basically self-taught. I had a lesson or two on piano, and then kind of took it from there as far as stringed instruments. But it really kind of opened up a world. Before that, I had just thought music was something other people did. I didn't think I was in that club.
Yeah.
But then, you know, but being in high school, I was in the 70s, and it was, you know, perfect time for me to find something like that I could do on my own, and really, you know, really enjoyed it. Now, this many years later, I still love it every time I pick up a guitar.
That's something that's kind of crazy, because when you're in high school, there's a lot of things, you know, like playing sports and so on, that you love and enjoy. But once you're done with high school, your opportunity to do those things are kind of limited. Music, on the other hand, is something that if you choose to, you can participate in for the rest of your life.
What kinds of venues and shows do you mostly play?
Again, it's kind of an eclectic mix. We're very active as church musicians. We play with a group called the Trova Troubadours every now and then, so we'll do the bar band kind of thing. We've done coffee houses. The Minnesota Association of Songwriters would do a coffee house, and then whatever proceeds came from that would go for music scholarships, so we would do stuff like that.
A lot of benefits and things. We'll do some, you know, contribute to various bands that are playing for fundraising and benefits and things. So it really is a pretty broad array for sure.
And you guys are of the Twin Cities, is that correct?
Yeah, live in Lakeville. We do have some connections down. Both of us went to Mankato, and we have some connections down in southern Minnesota. That's where Kim's from, and so forth. And so we end up playing on a radio station down in New Prague every so often, and we play a lot kind of down in the New Prague and Montgomery area and so forth with some friends. There's some guys that I've played with ever since my college band, and so we still get together this many years later and play with them, which is always a lot of fun.
Sure. So I'd like to play another song if I can. This is Can't Stay Away by Steve and Kim Wolf here on 89.5 KQAL.
New snow falling as I walk home. It's 2 a.m. and I'm all alone. Not another soul in sight. I'm the newly crowned king of this lonely night. Never should have gone to see her again. She hugged me like I was a long lost friend. He introduced me to her latest guy. He looked right past me as he caught her eye. She comes and goes at the mercy of the breeze, builds me up, then drops me to my knees. With a giggle she can tear my whole world down. I can't stay away even though she can't stay around. Threadbare heart on a mended sleeve, a smart-ass streak, but I'm too dumb to leave. Familiar comfort in the pain, like walking through the park in the cold, cold rain. Called me up 3 weeks ago. We had a lovely evening till she had to go. She said, no one makes me laugh like you. I'll call you again in a day or two. But last night at about 9:45, through a cafe window, I saw her again, holding court with her usual crowd. Latest guy laughed a little too loud. She comes and goes at the mercy of the breeze, builds me up, then drops me to my knees. With a giggle she can tear my whole world down. I can't stay away even though she can't stay around. I'm bleeding from 1,000 little wounds. Really should never leave my room. I scream at the top of my lungs, but I can't make a sound. I can't stay away even though she can't stay around. Can't stay away even though she can't stay around.
Okay, that was Can't Stay Away by Steve and Kim Wolf here on 89.5 KQAL. So I'll ask you guys, do you have a particular process behind your music when you're writing, or do you have a mindset that you like to be in?
Steve is the prolific songwriter. I get to kind of piggyback on on what he does. So he can be if we're driving up north, if I'm the one behind the wheel, so we stay safe, we don't text and drive. But if we're driving up north to our cabin, he'll be working on a song as we go, and then when we get there, he'll start playing things for me and see if I can chime in or do harmony or add lyrics. But he's the prolific one.
Yeah, I'm kind of always trying to capture, bits of lyrics that would pop in my head and things I learned long ago that if I think I'm going to remember them, I often won't. So I'll use my phone to capture notes on various lyrics. I've got my phone filled with all these, just single lines or couplets or something that eventually will find their way into a song. And then I use voice memos and other kinds of ways of recording. Like Kim said, we're up at our cabin quite often. I don't have a studio up there per se, but I can, sit down if I'm noodling on a guitar and come up with a idea for a chord progression or a melody or something. Then I'll just usually record it just to help as a notebook, just to help myself remember it. And then when I come back home to the home studio, then I usually use the studio almost. I don't go into the studio with a completed song. I'll usually go in and actually use the recording process to kind of develop the song. I just find it more interesting as I layer different instruments over it and so forth. The song can take on a different, in some cases, a direction I hadn't necessarily, expected. So, and I'll call him in from time to time when I get into a bind and say, I need a bridge for this or something. So there is some give and take on it, but we rarely consider something, finished. It's always kind of a work in progress until it, we finally decide, okay, that's it. So.
Is it a different dynamic creating music with as a couple versus maybe playing in just a regular band or working with a producer? Is there any notable or significant difference that you can speak to?
Both of us have played in bands that the other was not a part of. I played in a classic rock band called the Tone Cats on and off for about 10 years, and so I've played with a lot of other musicians as Keith has as well when I've not been there. It is kind of fun when you're doing this together because one, it's just fun to do as a couple, and secondly, you get to the point where you can kind of read each other. I can look at him or he can look at me, and we'll do something spontaneously because you can just key off of each other so well, which just makes the whole moment of providing music to others just so much more fun. It really is kind of a blast.
And we have very different strengths, I think, really. I like to just endlessly play with different stringed instruments and try to create arrangements and colors in the sort of the backing tracks. And then vocally, Kim's just always amazed me. She'll step up to the microphone and sing, the lead vocal and do a great job. And then she'll often just turn to me and say, okay, give me another track. And literally 5 seconds later, we're back to the beginning of the song, and she sings over the top of what she just recorded and, lays down this perfect harmony piece. And I've seen her do 3- and 4-part harmony, without taking a break.
Wow.
For me to do something like that, I'd have to spend days, planning out what I'm going to sing, and it would probably be pretty croaky by the time I'm done. So we've learned, I think, to really kind of rely on each other's strengths to have the sum be really the, greater because of the combination of those two strengths. So that's cool.
Sure. Is there anything in particular you guys find yourself kind of drawing influence from, or is it really a wide array of things?
Right. Well, as Kim said, we love to listen to, quite a wide variety of music, and I've just, been doing it so many years that I think I've kind of just taken in a lot of different styles, and then when things come out, they, certainly, I don't think necessarily you could look at it and go, oh, that's obviously he was trying to do something by the band or Jesse Winchester or, people like that are influences for me. I think over time, the longer you do it, the more those things get kind of baked in, and hopefully there's something about it that's, pretty much your own. But certainly we never try and hide those kind of influences, and, so we will do, as she said, depending on the gig, we might end up doing a pretty much a complete bluegrass or country kind of flavored set, and then there are other cases where we do, do something that's a little more. We're working on a speakeasy set right now, which is all songs that have kind of a 20s and 30s kind of feel to them,
Let's do another song here. Here's Bourbon for Breakfast on 895 KQAL Winona.
1, 2, 3, 4. Cigarettes for tea, ale in the afternoon. Won't you come and go with me? Don't mistake misspent days for pearls before for breakfast, water with the wine. I'm a fool as a wise man I'm a knave, a prisoner to my weaker self. I've spent all I had hoped to save. Don't mistake my struggles for something I control. Bourbon for breakfast, shelter for the soul. Lazy days and reckless ways aren't as wasted as they seem. Throw away all those paper plans, hold out for a fevered dream. A dog-eared book by lamplight, a nap beneath some shade. Plans often go astray, no matter how the plans were laid. Don't mistake a wanderer for one who's lost the way. Bourbon for breakfast, cares cast away. Bourbon for breakfast, cares cast away.
That was Steve and Kim Wolf with Bourbon for Breakfast here on 89.5 KQAL. Tell me a little bit about Bourbon for Breakfast. How did that song come about, or what's it about or inspired by?
Well, I really just started the guitar part that's kind of the core of that song. Was really just, it came out one day. I was actually in kind of a group setting. I was supposed to be paying attention to something else, and I got kind of distracted and started playing this little riff. And then as the lyrics came about, I really just sort of let them, they just kind of flowed out. And as I developed the song, it's really about sort of taking a break from, it isn't necessarily about drinking. It talks about bourbon for breakfast and ale in the afternoon and things like that. So that's kind of part of it when people decide that, they're going to have a beverage or two and just sort of relax. But there's also talking about, reading a book by lamplight and a nap under a shady tree. And so it's more about those moments when we kind of step away from the sort of day-to-day part of the life and just kind of escape just somewhat to be refreshed or be, whatever. So that's really what it's about.
Steve has a wonderfully punny personality.
Yeah.
He will absolutely find unique ways to phrase things or to make a pun. And so that does lead to a lot of creativity when he's looking at various lyric lines. I'm kind of proud of him for that.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. That's funny. One last question for you here, then we'll lead out with a song. But the last question is, where can listeners learn more about you, whether that be a website or, social media? What would be some good avenues for that?
We do have a website where we have a lot of our original music. So it's www.steveandkimmusic.com. So you got to spell it all out. But if you want to listen to our music, and there's a number of music videos as well that are out there on steveandkimmusic.com.
There's a great video of Kim singing Somewhere Over the Rainbow with a parrot on her shoulder, so I would encourage listeners to go out on YouTube and find that. If you Google or look for Kim and Wise Guy. The Wise Guy was the name of the parrot, so if you look for that on YouTube, you'll find her. We were practicing that song for a wedding, and we were
parrot sitting.
And whose parrot was in the other room and started trying to sing along, so we brought it in and put it on Kim's shoulder, and you got to watch it. It's a lot of fun to hear how the parrot tries to harmonize.
That's great. That's funny that you addressed that, actually, because in preparation for this interview, I actually came across that video, and so that's funny. It was very entertaining. So we're going to lead out here with the song, Jumped the Fence. Before we do that, tell me a little bit about what's Jumped the Fence about.
As Kim mentioned, we belong to the Minnesota Association of Songwriters, which is really a great group if you're interested at all in songwriting. They provide a lot of workshops and a lot of resources for budding songwriters. But every once in a while, we will issue challenges to each other to sort of keep things interesting. And so that one was sort of a personally inspired challenge. I just decided I wanted to try to write the most upbeat breakup song possible. So, it's a song that as you listen to it, it's got this, it feels very upbeat and very joyful, but it's actually about the end of a relationship. So I kind of liked the dichotomy there between those two things.
Yeah, it's an interesting contrast. Well, thank you for listening. Here's Jumped the Fence by Steve and Kim Wolf here on 895 KQAL.
Together, we began to disagree. When you settled out of troubles, everyone began with them and me. Now they say I'm easy going, so the going was easy for me. I warned her not to fence me in, but finally I jumped the fence, walked away. Know what I would find. Something told me there was something more than all that I was leaving behind. The lady threw a fit, said I just fit in wrong. So I jumped the fence, walked away, and I was gone. Started down the road, some stopped in for a beer. The waitress took a shot at me. She said, I don't live too far from here. Now I'm very easy going, but a feather could have knocked me down. When I saw that white picket fence around her house at the edge of town. As true as it can be, but my mind thinks defensively. I jumped the fence, walked away, didn't know what I would find. Something told me there was something more than all that I was leaving behind. The lady threw a fit, said I just fit in wrong. So I jumped the fence and walked away, and I was gone.
Thanks again to Steve and Kim Wolf for joining us on this episode of the live feed. To stream this episode or any other episode of the live feed, visit kqal.org and select the Media tab. I'm Willard Hike. Thanks for listening.